I feel like you have such a morbid approach to it. Hey friends, and welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to do a kind of Q&A advice video, and I've brought my boyfriend Johannes with me.
Hello.
I just think you have the best advice. You always give me such good advice, and I feel like you're such a fountain of wisdom. And yeah, I just love your mind and want to pick it for this advice video. So thank you guys so much for submitting all your questions. You submitted really good questions. I really love them, and I'm excited to discuss them with you. So let's jump on right in. Why don't you start and pick a question to answer?
Are the best things in life free? I want to believe that, but don't know how.
I thought this question was really interesting.
I would say that yes, the best things in life are free. Humans in general are very bad at judging what will make them happy and what will make a good life. So we think, oh, I just have to get a good job, I have to get this nice car, or I have to get six-pack abs or whatever, and then I will be happy. But if you actually look at people who achieve those things, they don't usually are happier than they were before they achieved those things. People knew this a long time ago. If you look at, for example, Epicurus, he said that human desires come in three categories. The first is things that are natural and necessary. Those are things like food and water and like basic shelter. The second type are things that are natural but not necessary. Those would be things like, for example, very good tasty food. Those are things that we naturally want but that are not necessary for our survival. And then there are things that are unnatural and unnecessary. Those are things like luxury goods, like nobody needs a Ferrari, and it's just something that society tells us is good, but it's not natural. And according to Epicurus, we should focus our attention on the first of the categories, the things that are natural and necessary, because those are things that bring us a great increase in well-being, and at the same time they are limited. When you're thirsty and you drink a glass of water, you stop being thirsty, but if you go after more prestige and money and luxury, it's kind of insatiable. You can always have more and still want more, and I think that brings a lot of unhappiness to people who don't realize that. You need a certain basic amount of money to just fulfill your basic needs and not suffer. That once that is fulfilled, you can have a great life with free things.
That was so much and so long.
Sorry.
Yeah, I would have answered that really differently. Not the answer, but like how you went about it. Yeah, the question was, are the best things in life are free? And I would just go about saying, what are the best things, first of all? And I don't think the best things are these luxury things, because we humans tend to get used to things really quickly, which is this hedonic adaptation effect. So even if you get a yacht or a huge mansion, you think it's really cool, you're going to enjoy that for maybe maximum a year, but then after a year you're going to be like, okay, yeah, that's just my house, that mansion. So I don't think that is what is ultimately going to get you happiness. Kind of what you said, the things that do make us happy are pretty simple things. I would say human connection, basic needs. When those are satisfied, you can really learn to be happy in that way. And I feel like we should really learn to get happiness or be happy not from other things or other people. I think a lot of times we attach our happiness onto other things and people, and when they disappoint us, we then are unhappy and we blame other people and blame other things, but it's really in ourselves. Yeah, I hope this kind of answers your question, that the best things in life are free. So okay, we're going to continue with a more easygoing question, not such a deep one. What are good natural cleaners, DIYs and brands maybe? Just starting out with this. So we actually experimented quite a bit with natural cleaners, and in the beginning we did a lot of DIYs. We DIY'd our washing detergent, our dish soap, and we used that for a bit, but we weren't quite happy with our DIY. With the dish soap, we felt like it didn't really get the dishes clean, and with the laundry detergent, I felt like it kind of not broke our washing machine, but
yeah, it started making weird sounds.
Yeah,
and things weren't quite as clean as they should be.
Yeah, so we ditch the DIY. I don't know if these brands are international, but with the dish soap, we used Ecover for quite a long time, and now we're using this German drugstore brand from Müller. I don't know what it's called. It's just the natural Müller dish soap. And with the laundry detergent, we also used Müller local natural laundry detergent.
And also Ecover before that.
Oh, and Ecover we also used as well. But now we use the True Earth laundry detergent strips. I really love that one. And with cleaning products, I have to say the only thing we DIY is our vinegar all-purpose cleaner. I did a video on that. I think cleaning the bathroom, I talked about that one. That we use on pretty much anything. Just be careful not to use it on natural stone. Oh, and with the oven, this is kind of a new discovery. Our oven is really nasty, but we used a mixture of baking soda and vinegar and made that into a paste, spread that all over, and then put a dish of vinegar in the middle of the oven and turn that to 100 and let that warm up for an hour. And then we kind of scrubbed it off, and that works really well. And the rest of it we kind of scrubbed with a magic eraser. Also really does the trick.
I'm currently struggling with my online classes. May I ask for some effective study habits? There were 2 books that I read early in college that really helped me with this. One was Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. In this book he talks about many just productivity hacks and tools, but the main idea is that you do the most important task, which is usually the task you most don't want to do the first thing in the day. And then it's out of the way, and the rest of the day you can just lay back, and whatever you do, you already have done the thing you have to do. So in college, I would, for example, when I have to write a thesis, just sit down in the morning for 2 or 3 hours and just write, and then before lunch I'm done with that. And if I want to do more in the afternoon, great, but if not, I have done the most important thing for the day. The other book that was really helpful was by Cal Newport, which is called How to Become a Straight A Student. There he talks about more specific studying techniques and tools you can use as a student. And he talks, for example, about a technique for memorizing things. And he would read his study material and form questions out of that. And then he would write those on the flashcards and write the answers on the back. And then he would always go through the cards. And whenever he doesn't know the answer, he would put that on a separate pile that he would go through again and again. And so he always just takes out the cards he doesn't know yet, and just so you don't always repeat the things you already know. This just makes the process very efficient. I realized that before exams I often only had like 10 cards left that I really had a trouble with memorizing, and then I would just go through these last 10 cards again and again before the test, and that would really help me.
I guess it really depends how you're struggling when it comes to studying. For me personally, I really struggle with procrastination and things like putting my phone into the bathroom or into a separate room really helps for me. Or I even went as far as putting a lock on specific websites. For example, YouTube. I was watching a lot of YouTube when I shouldn't be, and you kind of password protected YouTube, so I couldn't get on it. For me, what was hardest was the initial kind of starting point. When I started, it was okay. I could sit there for quite a while, but it was just the beginning that was the hardest for me. And something else that helped was an app. I forgot what it's called. You used it too, where you grow trees.
No, I didn't use that.
You didn't use that? No. Oh, I forgot what the app is called. I'll put it here if I find it. But essentially, you set a timer, and during that time, you cannot use your phone. If you use it, then you kind of kill the tree, and in the time you are growing a tree. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like a gamified version of like a time tracker. You turn on the app and it starts growing a tree, and when you refrain from using your phone for the entire time that you chose, the tree grows into a full-grown tree, and that way you can build like a virtual forest.
Yeah,
to keep you motivated.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. It really did keep me motivated. The Pomodoro method is really popular, where you set a timer for how was it, for 20 minutes?
Yeah, there's different versions. I think that specific time is not so important as the technique itself. I think in the original version you use a 25-minute timer and then take a 5-minute break and then repeat that over and over again, I think 4 times. And that's 1 Pomodoro. And after 1 Pomodoro, you make a longer break of 30 minutes.
I feel like maybe it doesn't really work for everyone. It's not something that I really love, but it really depends on the person, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not someone who uses it too, but I think what's helpful with this is if you struggle with starting to work, it's helpful to say, okay, I just do 1 Pomodoro, I just do one 25-minute segment, and then it doesn't sound so scary. You just sit down for 25 minutes, so everybody can do that. And once you start working, it's a lot easier to keep going. And so for that, it's really useful.
Yeah. Hopefully this answers your question. If you have follow-up questions, just comment them down below, which I'll try to help. Are you always a saver, and how do you control your spending so well? I'll go first. So I would say I was always pretty much a saver. It was just something that I was taught by my parents. My parents are also people who really like to save and have always taught me the importance of saving. So when I used to get pocket money when I was younger, I would always like to save that. There were seasons in my life where I did spend more because I was earning more money when I had kind of like a waitressing job. And that's the scary thing with lifestyle inflation. I kind of fell for that, and I thought, wow, I have all this extra money, I'm going to buy extra clothes and things like that. But other than that, I would say I'm a pretty good saver, or I like to save, and I really, really think about things before I buy them. And as to controlling my spendings, I was taught this from a rather young age on, and then with reading a lot of books on the importance of saving, it's kind of intuitive. I do have to sometimes be careful and check myself and say, hey, maybe this is unnecessary, spending this money. But other than that, I think it's really important to track your spendings. If you're not good with money, then you can see where all your money's going out. I
haven't always been a saver. I think when I grew up, my parents always showed me the love with gifts, and so I grew up in an environment of abundance, and I never really got into the mindset that you need to save and be mindful about how you spend your money. That came later. After graduating from high school, I traveled in Australia for 1 year, and I only had a limited amount of money, so that was when I first really had to think more about where do I spend my money and how can I keep more money for later so I can do something with it. Then also later in college, I read some finance books like Rich Dad Poor Dad. And generally, I got more into a mindset that I don't value buying stuff so much, and I value freedom and simple things a lot more. And that's just kind of a paradigm shift that I went through. Now it comes pretty natural to me just because my values changed. How important is our focus, and how do you and Johannes manage to remain that focused?
How do you remain focused?
I would say that when it comes to focus, you can kind of discern between like micro focus and macro focus. Like by micro focus, I mean like sitting at your desk and working without being distracted by your phone, and macro focus that you set a goal and then stay focused at that goal for a long period of time. And I think I'm pretty good when it comes to this micro focus, that I can just sit down and work at a task for hours at a time without looking at my phone once. And I'm not really tempted to distract myself with other things, but I'm pretty bad at the macro focus. Like I constantly switch my goals and projects that I work on, and that's something I have to learn. But that's something that I think you are pretty good at. You can really choose one goal and then work toward it. I'm like the exact opposite to you. I'm really bad at the micro focus. I'm always, I don't know. Yeah. I guess I'm good at the macro focus when I have a strong why as to why I'm doing things. And when I really believe in something and I really commit to something, then I tend to give my all, and I want to see it to the end, because I know that only at the end will I
gate or reap the results. Does that make sense? I would say the most important thing is to really have a strong why, and you really have to believe in your goal or why you're doing something, and at least that's where I get my motivation from. Maybe something else that could really help you stay focused on your goal is to surround yourself with people who have similar goals, whether it's in your in-person life or whether it's your online life. That also really makes a difference. I like to watch videos from people who are really motivated and really focused on their big term goals. And yeah, I guess it really depends on what you surround yourself with. So be careful with that. That can influence you a lot. And maybe I'm also just lucky. Like maybe some people, this macro focus comes to more easily than others. It's more difficult. Maybe I'm also just lucky in that sense. Do you find it easy to overcome stressful situations, and can you be easily annoyed by someone? If yes, what do you do to deal with this kind of people and situations? So I am very easily stressed, but I'm not easily annoyed by people, I would say. I get really stressed in situations. I to be honest, I don't know why. I wish this wasn't the case. Something that really helps with me is journaling. It kind of really, you pour out all your busy thoughts in your mind and you just write out everything that you're thinking, and it helps you process your thoughts. Something that also helps for me is when I encounter the stressful situation, I try to detach myself from it as quickly as possible, I would say, because the longer I spend time in the stressful situation, the more I stay in this kind of vicious cycle where I keep on telling myself, oh no, this is so stressful, this is so bad, this is so such and such. But as soon as I detach myself from it, preoccupy my mind with something else, even if I just watch a quick YouTube video, I can shift my focus onto something else, and then the stress pretty quickly subsides, which is pretty great, even though it's just for now, at least it's something. With not being annoyed with other people, I guess something that really helps with me is to be compassionate. I like to put myself into the other person's shoes. So for example, if someone is really rude to me in the bus or something, I try to put myself in their shoes. Who knows what they're dealing with at home? Maybe they just found out horrible news. You never know what's going on with that person and in their lives. We can all use a little compassion. So that's what helps with me.
I think I'm very easily annoyed by many things, and and that's something I really have to work on and that I am working on. 3 things that immediately come to mind are meditation and generally the Buddhist philosophy that surrounds it, like being mindful and compassionate and considering the impermanence of everything. And those things really help me to take a step back and just calm down without getting too agitated for some kind of minor annoyance. Another thing is Stoicism. Stoicism also has a lot of great practices that help you to think more rationally about things. One big concept in Stoicism is that you discern between things that you can control and things that you don't control. And when it comes to things that you can control, then you don't have to worry about it because you can control it and you can take steps to change it. And if it's something you cannot control, then there's no point in worrying about it because you can't do anything either way. Another Stoic technique is a negative visualization. So you try to vividly visualize being in a terrible situation. That sounds bad, but if you, for example, sit in traffic and you're annoyed that you have to wait and you're late for work, and then you try to vividly imagine losing a loved one or living in a war-torn area and not having enough food or water and being worried about your life, and then you return to your situation and sitting in the car, and then you think, oh, that's just ridiculous, it's not that bad really. I find that really helpful. The third thing is that I study like positive psychology and read books like Sonia Lyubomirsky, I think is the name, The How of Happiness, which contains a lot of like tools and tactics to increase your personal happiness and based on psychological research. And that is too big of a topic to go into now, but I recommend the book highly. Look into positive psychology. It's a very fascinating topic that I think can really improve the quality of your life if you look into it.
You mentioned the negative visualization. That is something that does not work for me. That just puts me in a bad mood. But something that I sometimes like to do is, if I'm really stressed about something, then I like to visualize or think about myself in 5 or 10 years time, and then think about how insignificant the moment right now probably is. For example, if you failed a test or if you failed an exam, it's going to be really horrible and seem really significant now, but in 5 or 10 years time, when you have a job, when you're focusing on other things, you're probably going to maybe even think it's funny that you failed that exam.
Yeah, when it comes to the thinking of the bigger picture, I like to think of like the even bigger picture. And for example, imagine that right at this spot I'm standing on right now, like 100 years ago, some people walked this exact point on the planet who have long died, and a few hundred years from now I will long be dead, and all the houses that stand here will probably not exist anymore. And if you think of this really big picture, then things don't seem as significant anymore.
Yeah, I feel like you have such a morbid approach to it. But I guess everyone has different techniques, and it just depends what works for you. Dark. One question was, how do I not start turning into Gollum when sitting in a 12 square foot room all day? Send help. I don't know if this is a similar question, but there was another question that was, help, I'm feeling stuck at the moment. Well, that could be kind of stuck right now in this kind of weird quarantine situation, or stuck in life. I'm not sure how this person meant it.
You know, we live in a very small apartment right now and share one room. So this is something I can relate to.
Can or can't?
Can.
Oh, can.
This is something I can relate to. I don't know if this was more related to that she feels lonely alone in her room, or if it's more like a cabin fever type of thing. I don't feel lonely because I have you. But I think there's the risk when you're living in a small room that you get this cabin fever. What helps me a lot is that I go for walks a lot, and that I make a point to move around a lot. So every morning right after waking up, I go for a walk for about 30 minutes, and then after lunch or before lunch, depending on the day, I go for another longer walk, usually for 1 hour, and that helps a lot, just going out into nature and seeing the vast landscape and breathing fresh air and getting some movement.
Yeah, I guess this is really different maybe from person or personality to personality. I know a lot of people with this kind of quarantine situation, it's really hard for them to be isolated or be stuck, kind of. You feel like you're stuck in this in this situation or in this room. I don't have it as much, maybe because I'm introverted. I'm not sure. But I think what could really help is to have some kind of project or ongoing project or thing to do, or some sense of purpose or mission. Yeah, even if it's something small like rearranging your room or painting a painting, you can move from small project to small project. For me personally, I kind of have a big project in the sense that I do lots of YouTube videos, and that's kind of my project. But having some kind of thing that you're working on, or where you're constantly trying to make progress, I feel like that is something that can really help. It is something that is also so mentioned in this book about depression that we had read, that a sense of purpose is something that is really important. I feel like a lot of people also, though, have this pressure of, oh my god, it's quarantine, and then now I have to do something big with this time and then come out a better person, and then this kind of pressure is what hinders them from actually doing anything at all. So I definitely understand that as well. Something that I've also found for me personally is that when I spend a lot of time on my phone or on social media, I feel really crappy about myself. It was kind of like this miniature depressive state, and I didn't really realize what was causing this until I tried to put my phone away. And I know this is really cliche and everyone talks about this, but it truly does do wonders.
Yeah, I think we tend to judge our own position in life compared to those of other people. And when we always are on Instagram and look at these influencers who have these seemingly perfect lives, who are always traveling, even in quarantine, and who have
which you shouldn't be,
and have those amazing luxury things and this great group of good-looking, attractive friends and this perfect partner and children and everything, then your own life can feel very inadequate. But we have to realize that those things we see online are not attainable. These people don't lead perfect lives. They just show a tiny glimpse of their actual experience of life. And there are many things that they decide not to show because not every moment of life can be that glamorous.
But even if we don't take it to that extreme, like I'm not traveling and things like doing luxury things, but even I'm only showing specific selected parts of my life. I don't show myself crying and breaking down over things I'm stressed about because it feels like they're showing everything, but they're really not.
How does one get to find out what they are truly passionate about, or how did you manage to find out your true passion?
Okay, so I think this thing with passion is a difficult topic because it's kind of a trend nowadays to be doing what you love, and it's everyone's goal. We then put so much pressure on finding our passion, and I think there are a lot of people that are in their 50s and still don't really know what their passion is. So I don't think there is this kind of timeline where by the time you're 30 you've got to figure out your life, figure out what your passion is, and kind of have everything figured out. I don't think people in general have things figured out at a specific age. I think we're always trying to figure things out in our life, and everyone is struggling and everyone kind of has similar problems. I feel like with finding out where your passion is difficult in the sense that we put too much pressure on it. And I guess the only way to kind of know what your passion is to try out a bunch of things. It's kind of like asking someone who's only tried vanilla ice cream, what's your favorite ice cream? If they've never tried the other flavors, you've got to try everything, and then you can know what the ideal thing is for you. And I'm a big believer of experiencing as much as possible because it broadens your horizon and you get to figure out what you like, what you don't like. And with me, I would say I'm really passionate about making videos, and it is something that I already really enjoyed as a young child. I used to get out my parents' camera and started filming random things and narrating to specific things. So sometimes what helps is to think about what you liked as a child, and that sometimes is a passion that is still with you today, so you can kind of pull that into today. Another example, I like to mash up weird random things as a child and mix it into a concoction. And because of that, I always thought I wanted to be a chemist. But now I realize that it kind of just translates into cooking, where you also just mash and mix up random things together to create something new. So sometimes looking to your childhood helps, but also just try out a bunch of new things and don't put so much pressure on doing what you love. I'm actually currently reading a book that you've already read called So Good They Can't Ignore You. And it talks about how it's not the right approach to make a job out of your passion or make a career out of your passion. And I thought that's really interesting. I haven't read it yet, but maybe you can elaborate that or give your 2 cents.
Yeah, he says things similar to what you said before, that people put too much pressure on finding their passion. They think, oh, I just have to figure out this thing. Maybe I'm passionate about graphic design and then I become a graphic designer, or maybe I'm passionate about playing the piano and then I become a professional pianist. But it doesn't really work that way. You can't just come up with a passion and then pursue that. In the book, Cal Newport talks about how it's a lot more important that you're good at something than finding like the one thing you're passionate about. Because when you have something, whether it's law or finance or whatever else career you want to go into, or something more creative like design, once you get into it and work to become the best you can at this thing, you will at some point probably start enjoying it because it's just something you're really good at, and it brings a lot of joy to us to do something that we're good at. And if you notice that something really sucks, that like you get into a law because you think, oh, it sounds fun and I'm going to try it out, but then you just hate it completely, then it doesn't mean you can't stop and do something else that is more aligned with your personality or aligned with your values. But you shouldn't have too high expectations for something just because you aren't totally passionate about something you just started. Doesn't mean that you will never enjoy it. You have to give it some time.
I think this whole passion thing is really romanticized, that people view it kind of like as this love at first sight kind of thing. Like, I'm going to try tennis for the first time today, I'm going to love it, and this is going to be my passion. But that's not it. Like you said, you have to give it time, maybe become good at it, and then a passion can be born out of that.
It's more that you try something and you think, oh, that could be fun, and then you keep at it until you get really good at it, and that way you develop a passion in this area.
Okay, so these are all the questions that we're going to answer for today. The rest, as I said, I'm going to answer in the next video. So I hope we could answer your questions. If you're not satisfied, comment down below any further questions and we'll answer them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I thought it was fun. Did you?
It was fun.
So yeah, we enjoy this. If you enjoy this too, comment more things, more questions, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.
Bye.